and showing what he really is, a joker, a scammer. I mean, Max Keiser, do you think it's unfair and mean to put up a joker, A, and B, isn't it our right anyways, whether it's nice or not, to show the godlike creature in whatever way we wish? Or should it be illegal, as some Democratic operatives are calling for?
Look, Alex, I grew up during the Nixon era, and the amount of vitriol spouted toward Nixon, as you can imagine, was quite vehement. The parodies and the things that were done were extreme, and because the country was angry. And why are they angry? Because they don't have a job, because the economy is sinking, because the president seems to curry favor with the Wall Street banks, and he has done no reformation of the banking system whatsoever. If anything, he's given them more power. And the people, unfortunately, have no power except through, historically, the people have always resorted to pamphleteering and through parody and through any means necessary that is cheap but carries their message. And this is just what happens when an economy is concentrated, wealth is by the fewer and fewer percentage, and it leaves the vast majority face down in the mud. And this just creates this dynamic. And the way to stop it is to address this unbelievable power grab of the money and wealth in the United States by the select few, and start to engage in some measures that will restore balance. The problem with these banks on Wall Street is that as the power grab continues, there's less and less competition for them. And people say, well, people are just envious that Goldman Sachs is making a lot of money, which is completely incorrect. What is disturbing is that there are no competitors for Goldman Sachs. Why doesn't Obama and Geithner and Bernanke, why don't they start a few new banks that will challenge Goldman Sachs?
No, everything has to be fed into the mega bank at the expense of the people, and that's what John D. Rockefeller first said. He said competition is a sin, and it is a sin to these mega monopoly capitalists.
Competition is the lifeblood of what's called the American dream. The purpose of the government is to allow, like an empire at the ball game, is so that there can be fair competition. That's what the government can do. They play the umpire at the ball game, and then we'll see who competes the best. Some people are talented, some people are really hardworking, and you have the ability through sheer hard work to make it in that economy. But if the umpire is working for the banks, and there are no laws, there are no rules, then the people in the country are going to rise up and say, you know what, this is bull BS. We want to compete. The people want to work. They want to compete, but the banks on Wall Street won't let them. And that blockage has got to be removed from the economy. There needs to be a reintroduction of competition in the United States. And the way to do that is to remove the egregious monopoly of everything financial. Every loan, every price on every exchange is totally manipulated at this point, and it's done so thousands of times a minute. And they're just stealing. They've got, like I said at the top of the interview, they've got a siphon stuck into the pot of money that is America's wealth, and they're just siphoning it out with no competition whatsoever. They're just taking it. They're just stealing it without any intrusion from any regulator whatsoever. Now, how is that going to foster an economy of hardworking, diligent, moral people?
Great points, Max Keiser. Did you?
Look,
well, on Monday,
on the front page of the Financial Times, Wall Street profits from Fed roll. This is on the front page of the Financial Times. What does this mean? The Federal Reserve tells Wall Street what they're buying and selling before they buy and sell. Wall Street then steps in. They quote-unquote front run, which means they place orders ahead of the government, and they make money without taking any risks.
So it's a rigged inside economy, insider trading now publicly. Crime is just absolutely mainstream now. Insider
trading, crime, and thievery are listed on the exchange. You can buy them every single day. It's It's a listed, open sewer of corruption that they're just buying and selling on the exchange, and they're basically taunting people and saying, look, you're either with us or against us. That's why I have that site, GulagWealthFund.com, which has all the companies that are profiting from this gulag casino state. So I've got the various military contractors and the various banks. And if you want to participate in the gulag wealth industry, you should buy the shares in these stocks, because you can watch your country go into the mud as well. And you'll be the richest guy in the world, but you will have lost your country. So that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off you have to ask yourself. Are you willing to become rich in exchange for your wealth? Are you willing to give up your country? That's the question everyone has to ask themselves.
But at a certain point, they destroy the standard of living and turn all the Western countries into sewers. But I guess they don't care as long as they're the king monkey sitting on top of the pile of dung. It's just amazing. Did you see where the White House, we actually broke this on Monday, it's now been picked up nationally, the White House is asking its people to report anyone that talks bad about the health care plan. And then back during the campaign, they had cops in Missouri going, we're going to arrest you if we decide you lie about Obama. And all these youth brigades and youth corps with all these big Republicans running them for Obama, like David Gergen.
Well, because the business of the casino gulag model, the supporting the cops in this case, and the surveillance and the invasive technologies 24/7, this is the only business. You know, here's an interesting point. If you look at the gross domestic product of America for the last quarter, and they say that it was. The figures were up plus or minus 1% from a year earlier, and they were saying, see, the economy is on some kind of growth track, or it's not decelerating as fast as we said it would. If you subtract the military from the durable hard goods number, the military component, it's more than 50%. So in other words, the only growth that you see in the U.S. right now comes from invading countries, slaughtering people, and installing surveillance equipment. That's it. That's what America exports now. That's their growth industry. And they look at that, they say it's great. The people who are doing it, they can borrow money from Wall Street at virtually no money, no interest rates whatsoever, because they keep those artificially low interest rates for them. If you're a saver, if you work and you save money, like I'm a saver, I have only savings. I have no debt. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have a credit card. I don't have a car loan. I've never had any debt. But I'm being penalized because on my savings I get 1% at most. That's outrageous. When the demand for credit is there, I should be getting 4 or 5%. So I'm subsidizing Goldman Sachs. I'm subsidizing J.P. Morgan. They're stealing money from me every single day. That's completely ridiculous. So why? What productive role are they playing in the society? None. They're just having like acid. They're just ripping it apart. And it's not even because, and they're not even having a lot of fun doing it. It's just because they're sadistic. It's like Caligula capitalism. They're just sick, sadistic.
No, that's it. They love blasting out the free market, destroying societies, bankrupting people. I read the Malthusian eugenicist views of all these elites. Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan publicly fund most of the eugenics groups, most of the zero growth groups. They're paying people to sell good cars. Then the car dealers just don't go down as much and actually rip you off. The studies show for cash for clunkers. Obama's idea to renew America is to, quote, bulldoze cities. USA Today, command destruction. This is what they want. And I wanted to ask you, Max, before we go to calls, ecoscience, Holdren. And it turns out the guy he wrote the book with, Paul Ehrlich, was George Bush Sr.'s science advisor, openly wanting to drug the water, take all children at birth, train them, raise them in government dormitories. And now in England, 20,000 families to have cameras in the homes watching their children. They're saying they're going to take the children and raise them in dormitories, that the family is bad, that the state is actually, this is in the book, now they're doing it. Can you comment on these people?
It just makes you well up in tears inside, because you realize that this great experiment that was started in the 18th century is come to a shocking close, and very suddenly, because of a complete inability for those who are benefiting most from a democratic society to stand up for their democracy. So if you're a Caligula capitalist, if you're running a casino gulag state, and you've got no resistance whatsoever, then why blame them? They're just, rust never sleeps. Rust is rust. Without, these people are never going to stop. They don't have no logic. There's nothing behind them that makes any human sense. So they're not going to stop. And the people who are getting the most affected by this are refusing to stand up for themselves. So I don't see any change in the dynamic here whatsoever. I just don't see it. And it's really, I live in France because I can't even live in the United States. It makes me a little queasy inside to walk around and just, it's like being in a zombieville. Here in France, the people in France have a situation where the government fears them. The government fears the people. If the government says something or does something in France that the people don't like, they immediately are out in the street. They're protesting and demonstrating every single day. In the U.S., of course, it's the opposite. The people fear the government. And that's totally unacceptable. That's completely unacceptable. And you can't even be around it. It's sickening.
Well, absolutely. The media is always bashing France, and I think its taxes is too high, but the people actually have a form of socialism there. They're demanding it. I'm not for that system, but they're actually getting some of it, which is better than this. I mean, if you're going to have socialism, might as well get part of it.